Today on What's Next.
If your dream doesn't require a miracle, you're not dreaming big enough.
I give hand ups instead of handouts.
How do we imagine a circle of compassion and imagine nobody standing outside that circle?
Hello and welcome back to Growing Boulder's What's Next. I'm Mark Middleton, and for many of us, What's Next is about making a difference in our communities. COVID has taught us many things, but perhaps nothing more important than how much we're all connected and how easily and really how profoundly we can impact the lives of those around us. And speaking of those around us, I am surrounded once again today by my friends and colleagues. We've got Amy Sweezy, Bill Schaefer, George Diaz, and Cecily Wilson. We will hear from all in just a moment because I want to get their 2 cents about this guy. John Rivers left a 20-year career as president of a billion-dollar healthcare company to pursue his lifelong passion of cooking barbecue. He refined the recipes and the techniques, and he launched what he called back then a barbecue ministry, cooking brisket to raise money to help others. The food was so good, though, that he opened what would become a chain of successful restaurants. But he's never lost sight of his original motivation, making a difference in the lives of others. In 2009, John Rivers renovated an old transmission shop to open his first Four Rivers Smokehouse. Today, there are over 20 Four Rivers locations offering what has been named the best barbecue in the South. But when the pandemic hit, Rivers' restaurant empire was shut down overnight.
We lost 50% of our business. All of our catering commissaries, all of our trucks, everything was dark. We had to turn them all off. And instead of sitting there recognizing that we're in trouble as an organization, we went to work.
With restaurants all over the state closed, millions of pounds of fruits and vegetables began rotting in Florida fields. At the same time, classrooms shut down, and children that relied on school lunches no longer had that daily meal. When many of their parents lost their jobs, the inevitable result was a rapid rise in food insecurity. Children and families were going to bed hungry. So Rivers got busy.
You call it harvesting, but we called it rescuing. We had trucks going out all over the state, finding that produce, and if the farmer could give it to us, great, but if they needed a little bit of money to harvest it, we would fund that for them. So we were taking produce that was otherwise going to go to waste. We were bringing it to Central Florida. We ended up recreating 322 jobs of people to take that produce and to turn it into meals and then go out to those 46 sites all over the state and feed people on a weekly basis. We called it Feed the Need, and it's still going on today. And we are now approaching 1.7 million meals that we have distributed in just a little over a year. I had a period in my life when I lived in food insecurity, and I know what some of those families are going through. And when they say it could be any one of us, it's the truth. It's just, every one of us needs help at some point in our life. We get by because we're a community. And in a community, it's based on relationships and harmony. And the more that we can lift up those who need it the most in our community, the whole community itself betters.
What's it like to be you, to have this mission?
It's thrilling. I absolutely love it. When things are normal and quiet, I don't do well. Quite frankly, 2020, I came to life. Because within disruption, there's opportunity to create and to reach out. I mean, Feed the Need wouldn't have existed without COVID coming into place. Now, I wake up every day right now, and there's a saying I say, it's if your dream doesn't require a miracle, you're not dreaming big enough. And I believe that. Why wouldn't you tackle the world? Take the biggest mountain on. That's a thrill of it. It gives purpose when you have passion about something. And I'm so fortunate, I'm so blessed that I can combine that purpose and passion with my occupation. And that's, to me, I'm in a wonderful season right now.
What an amazing man. John Rivers could never cook another barbecue chicken sandwich, and I would love this guy forever. He says that he believes the real blessing comes from taking on the really big challenges, from taking that first step when the path is unclear and success is uncertain. And, you know, I got to ask you guys, is there anyone here who has not enjoyed a meal at Four Rivers Smokehouse that won't enjoy your next meal even more now that you know more about John Rivers? Amy, let's start with you.
Oh man, Mark, I love me some Four Rivers. And one of his 20 locations just happens to be right around the corner from my house. So let's just say I am a frequent customer. But one of the things he said about that we get by because we're a community, that really touched me, because I think especially during a crisis or during a global pandemic, it's very easy to get into that, you know, I'm the only one that matters and I'm just going to focus on me. And instead, I just really liked his whole attitude about being in community.
Business leaders used to be the community leaders, and the chains came in, right? And then there are all these faceless organizations now. But guys like John Rivers who stand up, who are proud to be part of the community that we're in, they need to be known. They inspire us to do more to make a difference. They're the ones that start things, and we're the ones that can jump in to help make it happen. I say hooray for John Rivers and every local business leader out there, because that's what holds a community together.
You have a feeling of helplessness. Then you have this dark thought of, why am I even alive?
Hi, I'm Amy Sweezy. Our mission at Growing Boulder has always been to inspire and empower healthy aging. We tell the stories of ordinary people living extraordinary lives, those smashing stereotypes, and proving it's not about age, it's about attitude. Growing Boulder isn't just a state of mind, it's a way of life. That's why we've teamed up with Florida Blue Medicare to help you embrace a life of passion, purpose, and engagement. Florida Blue Medicare is more than just health insurance. Sure, they want to help you live a healthy life, but also a better life. And that includes providing motivational and educational resources. Growing Boulder and Florida Blue Medicare created an ebook highlighting some of the best stories from the biggest names we've interviewed over the years. It includes anecdotes and advice from the likes of Carol Burnett, Gordon Lightfoot, and Aaron Neville. You'll read about Diana Nyad, who at the age of 64 became the first person to swim from Cuba to the US without a shark cage. Marion Ross shares her struggle as a single mom for years before landing the role of Mrs. Cunningham on Happy Days at the age of 50. Other accounts come from Marlo Thomas, Maria Shriver, and Bill Nye the Science Guy, to name just a few. Head to growingboulder.com/Medicare to find not only this Growing Boulder With ebook, but an entire library of resources thanks to our partnership with Florida Blue Medicare. Discover how we're continuing to add inspiration to Florida Blue Medicare Advantage plans by visiting growingboulder.com/Medicare today.
I think we've all heard the saying about walking a mile in another person's shoes. It's all about empathy, the ability to really understand what others are dealing with, and nothing opens our hearts as much or connects us more closely to others than having faced the same challenge. And George, we've not heard from you yet this show, and now's your time. You got a great story for us exactly about that, right?
I sure do, Mark. David Williams rides his bicycle along downtown Orlando with purpose. As one of the city's downtown ambassadors, he's looking for people who are down on their luck and need help. He knows the story well. It was once his.
In every single person that's a street resident, I see a mirror reflection of myself, of where I was, where they are, but I also see something else. I see where they can be. Found myself homeless in 1989. I mean, I was like just homeless. Wasn't using no shelters, wasn't using no services. I was a survivor. I'm an infantry soldier. The Army taught me how to do this outside, right? So I would go to labor pools from here to there just to get enough money to go and buy my food, whatever else. I was living in a wooded area off of John Young and Old Winter Garden Road. You have a feeling of helplessness. You have a feeling of disparity. Then you have this dark thought of why am I even alive? You have those.
Williams, now 60, found the light after stepping inside a meeting chaired by Andre Bailey, then CEO of the Central Florida Commission on Homelessness. Bailey helped show him the path toward stability. It took 14 years, but Williams found his way out of the woods. The problem was how to go back into society as a lost soul. Williams now tries to reach others who were once like him.
How y'all doing?
As he rides a bicycle along the Lake Eola perimeter.
All right.
He is in constant interaction with homeless people. His experience is a vast resource. He can point them in the right direction, whether it's where to get a meal or where they can sleep at night. And he instinctively knows if someone is truly in need of help or just playing the game to get money.
I give hand ups instead of handouts because a handout keeps a person stuck. It keeps a person, what I mean by keeps a person stuck, they're complacent with where they are. We want to know more about them. We want to know not what makes them tick. We want to know more about what's your struggle? What are your barriers? How can I be better assistance to you? And I think this is one of the key parts of our downtown outreach ambassador program. See, I just don't look at their situation for where they are now, today, right now. That could change. It will change. And I'm there to help you change.
George, thank you for sharing David Williams with us. And it's obvious his passion for helping others is very, very powerful, but it's really his experience, his understanding that makes him so effective. It gives him credibility. And it's really a great example of how our own struggles can be turned into what John Rivers calls blessings.
And what he's been able to do to take his test that he's gone through and turn it into a real life testimony and an example of life happening to many people, and how you get back up after being knocked down, you get back up after getting knocked down, and you get back up after being knocked down. And so I'm really proud to see what he's been able to do to turn this thing around for himself.
I really liked when he said, people need a hand up and not necessarily a hand out. So to me, it was kind of like a reminder of how important it is to get involved with these coalitions and find a coalition for the homeless in your area and get involved and support them, because they're the ones who can understand how to give a hand up instead of just a hand out.
And moralism hasn't kept us moral, it's only kept us from each other. So you want to bridge any distance there is between us and them.
If you're truly dedicated to helping people, you have to be willing to go where people need the most help. Father Greg Boyle stepped out of the sanctuary and right into some of the toughest, most violent gangs in Los Angeles. He created something called Homeboy Industries, which has become one of the most successful gang intervention, rehabilitation, and reentry programs in the country, affecting the lives of 15,000 people a year who are looking for a way to leave that life behind. And he does it through what he calls kinship.
Kinship is we belong to each other, so how do we stand against forgetting that? How do we imagine a circle of compassion and imagine nobody standing outside that circle? So the human task is to dismantle any barrier that exists that keeps us from each other. We've been so historically reliant on moralism, and moralism hasn't kept us moral, it's only kept us from each other. So you want to bridge any distance there is between us and them, and people always disqualify themselves. I couldn't possibly be present in a beneficial way to homeless or gang members or returning citizens or whatever the group is, because I'm white or I'm older or I'm whatever. But, if you're the proud owner of a pulse, then you're able to receive who people are. You can allow yourself to be reached by anybody. And so if it's about talking, maybe you're right. But since it's about listening, who can't do that? Everybody can do that.
with my nonprofit, WOW Legacy Group, Women Overcoming with Willpower, it's an opportunity for me to give back to women who are facing life adversity. And I faced many life adversities, from having a stroke on air, to losing my home to foreclosure, to losing my voice and having to build that back. And I recognize the power of being transparent and pouring into other women who may feel like they're the only ones going through something. And that's not the case at all.
The sweet spot for me is rescue dogs, foster kids, and Alzheimer's disease. I've been involved in all those causes throughout the years. And for Alzheimer's, it's obviously a very personal journey. My mom died of the disease, and every year we gather at Lake Eola and there's a fundraising walk there every year. My family comes from Miami. We all get together. It's one of the best days of the year. It's one also very bittersweet. There's some laughter, there's some tears, but it's a wonderful way to honor my mom's legacy and hopefully find a way to rid the world of this horrific disease so maybe others won't suffer like my mom did.
Welcome back to What's Next. We really do hope that you're following us on all of our social media platforms, because it's really a great way to be inspired and to find out what's next with Growing Boulder, and also to connect with the Growing Boulder tribe. And as always, we love to hear from you. In fact, our social media manager, Jess, weighs in regularly to get your take on different topics and questions. And recently, she asked, how do you like to give back? And there were lots of great answers. Tressa Burdette said that she gives back by shopping local. And I really love that because it's really easy and it's impactful. It also feels good. And Ray Smith said that she gives back by volunteering with a nonprofit that's dedicated to suicide prevention. And as we all know, that's a need that unfortunately is really more important now than ever. So gang, what about you? George, I know I see you on social media. You are involved in everything. So just pick your favorite, at least today. What do you like to do to make a difference in the community?
Well, one of the things I really have tried to do during COVID is support the arts. It could be Dr. Phillips, it could be the Plaza. There's so many groups, and as we all know, these are tough times for those in the entertainment industry. We'd love to see these venues keep going, stay afloat during tough times. Go out there, immerse yourself in culture, support the arts.
I'm super passionate about children, coming from a meteorology background. I've been involved in a lot of STEM events, the science, technology, engineering, and math, especially for girls, to try to promote girls learning more about science and going into these fields. So I've spoken to hundreds of children about the weather over the years, and sometimes it would feel like a chore. But I tell you what, when you see the looks on their faces, and of course 20 years later they say, hey, you came to my 3rd grade class, it does make you feel good about giving back.
Well, I like what Tressa told us on our Growing Boulder Facebook page about shopping local, and we got to meet John Rivers in the program today. That's a restaurant I want to go to. Find out who the people are in your community that are making a difference and support their businesses, because small business built this company, and small business will take us out of any troubles that we have.
Well, as president of the Rotary Club of Lake Buena Vista, service above self, at any time that we can help the community, that's what we love doing. So you got me there. I'm in. Call me up.
Well, Cecily, you are certainly one that can make us all feel inadequate in terms of giving back to the community. And this is something that I do feel guilty about on occasion. But I've realized that the Growing Boulder message is not only impactful to individuals, but also to groups. So like Amy, I volunteer my time to speak to groups, local and statewide. Whenever they ask, I'm happy to share the Growing Boulder message, to preach from the Book of Boulder, if you will. And I do feel pretty good about that because I know that it does have a positive impact on lives. And I guess to wrap it up, folks, we have all heard the saying that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a community to build a village. Community is really just a group of people who have something in common. It's where we live, it's what our challenges are, it's our desires, our needs, and we have seen them all today. And what we've learned is that we need one another to get by. Community is absolutely a critical component to healthy aging. Community is truly one of the foundations of what's next in all of our lives. So think about that, help your community, and we'll look for you next time right here on What's Next.